The entrance, the bar on the edge of the station, was alive with noise. Music echoed against metal walls. Voices overlapped in many languages, and the smell of oil mixed with the scent of burning spice from alien drinks. Merchants argued, smugglers laughed, and soldiers played cards under flickering lights. It was the kind of place where secrets lived in every corner, and danger waited for anyone careless enough to look too long at the wrong face. Captain Elias sat near the back, his jacket unzipped, his glass untouched. He was tired from patrol duty, tired of the endless emptiness between the stars. All he wanted was a moment of peace, but peace was a luxury, and in places like this, it never lasted. The door slid open with a hiss. At first no one looked, because people walked in and out all the time, but then the air changed. A cold silence spread as if someone had stolen the sound from the room. Every laugh, every shout, every note of music died. Even the old card dealer froze mid-move, his hand trembling. She walked in. Her steps were steady, her boots striking the floor with the rhythm of command. She was human. Or at least her body was shaped like one. But her eyes told another story. They were sharp, bright like fire, but also heavy with something ancient, something that made even the aliens, who feared nothing, lower their gaze. The crowd parted without a word. No one dared block her path. She carried no visible weapon, no armor, no escort, yet the weight of her presence was more dangerous than any gun. Whispers stirred, but voices were hushed quickly. Some recognized the mark on her arm. A symbol burned into a black band of cloth. Others only felt fear without knowing why. Captain Elias looked up, confused. He had seen warlords, assassins, bounty hunters, but this was different. She did not scan the crowd like a predator searching for prey. Her eyes moved as if she already knew exactly where she was going. Her boots stopped against the metal floor near his table. Every person in the bar held their breath. She raised her hand slowly, her finger steady, and pointed straight at him. The world shrank in that moment, leaving only her and Elias in the circle of silence. Her voice broke the air, calm and sharp. "I came for him," she said, not shouted, not begged, just spoken. And yet the sound carried like thunder. It hit every ear. It struck every heart. The entire room knew this was no random choice. This was fate walking through the door. Elias felt the weight of her words press against his chest. He had never seen her before, never heard of her, and yet she spoke as if she owned his destiny. He tried to speak, but his throat was dry. His hands twitched toward the pistol at his side, but he did not draw it, because something told him if he moved too fast, the world would end right there. The silence grew heavier. Aliens whispered in their own tongues. One muttered a word Elias did not understand, but he felt the fear in it. Another backed away, eyes wide, shaking its scaled head. Somebody dropped a glass, and the sound of it shattering echoed like an explosion in the stillness. The bartender leaned down behind the counter, pretending to clean something. The soldiers at the card table stopped breathing, their eyes darting between Elias and the woman. Even the station guards at the door did nothing, as if rooted to the ground. This was beyond them. This was something greater. She did not lower her hand. Her finger stayed locked on him. Her expression did not change. Cold, determined, but not cruel. There was no hatred in her eyes, but there was no mercy either. It was not personal. It was inevitable, like a storm rolling across the sky. Finally, Elias found his voice, though it cracked. "Who are you?" he asked, but she only tilted her head, just slightly. Her lips curved, almost a smile, but not warm. "You already know," she answered, and the bar shivered at her words, because everyone understood what she meant. This was not the beginning of a meeting. This was the continuation of something far older. Elias shook his head, his pulse quickening. He wanted to deny it, to laugh, to say she had the wrong man. But the weight in his chest told him otherwise. Deep inside, in a place he never dared to think about, he felt the truth. Something was coming for him, and she was only the first shadow of it. The silence did not break. The crowd waited, tense, breathless. The universe itself seemed to lean closer, listening, and in that moment, Elias knew his life would never again be simple. The woman had chosen, the storm had arrived, and humanity's story was about to change forever. The marked soldier captain. Elias could still feel her eyes on him. The finger pointing at him was steady, unshaking, like a weapon that needed no bullets. He told himself this was a mistake, that she had chosen the wrong man. But deep inside, in the quiet part of his mind he never visited, he felt something stir. The woman lowered her hand, but did not step back. Instead, she leaned forward just enough for Elias to hear her next words. "You cannot hide from it anymore," she said, her voice soft, yet heavier than steel. Elias frowned, his hand still hovering near his pistol. "I don't know you," he answered, forcing strength into his tone. But she tilted her head again, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "Not yet," she replied. "But they do." And then Elias noticed. The aliens, the smugglers, the mercenaries. Half of them were staring not at her, but at him. At his face, his chest, as if something written there frightened them. Whispers grew louder, one word repeated again and again in alien tongues. The bartender dropped a glass and muttered the same word under his breath. Elias did not understand the language, but the meaning reached him like cold wind. They knew something about him that he himself did not. The woman turned slowly, showing her arm. Wrapped around her wrist was a black cloth with a burning silver symbol etched into it. The mark glowed faintly, shifting like liquid light. Gasps spread through the crowd. Several aliens lowered their heads, refusing to meet her gaze. One even fell to its knees, trembling as if in the presence of something holy or cursed. Elias stared at the mark, his stomach tightening. "What is that?" he asked, voice cracking despite his effort to stay calm. The woman stepped closer, so close he could smell the faint scent of smoke on her coat. "It is the key," she said, "and you are the lock." The words made no sense, yet they froze him more than a blade at his throat. His life had been battles, orders, simple duty, but this was something beyond war, beyond rank, beyond the life he thought he knew. The silence broke suddenly. The door to the bar slammed open, and a squad of armed mercenaries stormed inside. They were not station guards, not law keepers. Their armor was black and marked with red lines, and their weapons hummed with alien energy. The leader pointed at Elias and barked, "Take him!" The crowd scattered instantly, chairs crashing, drinks spilling. But no one tried to help Elias. No one dared. Even the station guards at the door pretended not to see. It was as if the whole station already knew this moment was coming. The woman did not move until the mercenaries raised their weapons. Then, with a flick of her wrist, the silver mark on her arm flared with light. A wave of invisible force burst out, knocking the nearest mercenary off his feet. His weapon flew across the room, sparking against the floor. Gasps rose again, but this time mixed with screams. Elias ducked behind the table, his soldier instincts alive. He drew his pistol and fired at one of the mercenaries. The shot struck true, but the armor absorbed most of it. Still, the man stumbled back, cursing. The woman moved like a storm, fast, precise, unstoppable. She disarmed one mercenary with a single strike, twisted another's weapon, and sent him crashing into the wall. Elias fired again, heart pounding. For the first time, he felt like he was no longer in control of his own life. Someone had written a script long before this night, and he was only now reading his lines. When the last mercenary fell, the bar was silent again. Bodies groaned on the floor. Tables shattered. Lights flickered. The woman stood calm, unshaken, her eyes still locked on Elias. "You are not safe here," she said. "They will not stop, not until you accept what you are." Elias swallowed, his pistol still raised. "And what am I?" he asked, voice hoarse. She stepped closer, lowering his weapon gently with her hand. "You are marked," she whispered. "Not by choice, but by blood." Her words cut through him deeper than any blade. He wanted to laugh, to push her away, to tell her she was insane. But the fear in the eyes of the aliens, the mercenaries' desperate attack, the strange glow of her symbol, none of it was a lie. Something about him was different, and everyone in the galaxy seemed to know it except him. The woman turned toward the broken door, her coat flowing like a shadow. "Follow me, Elias," she commanded, her tone leaving no space for refusal. "If you stay, you die. If you come, you learn." Elias looked around, at the shattered bar, at the terrified faces, avoiding his gaze. He realized no one here would ever look at him the same again. He realized the life he thought was his had ended the moment she spoke those words. "I came for him," and so, with the weight of fear pressing against his chest, Captain Elias stood. His steps were heavy, his hands trembling, but he followed, because deep inside, some part of him already knew. This was not a beginning. This was a revelation, and nothing would ever be the same. The first pursuit. The station corridor stretched out before them, cold lights flickering as alarms began to echo. Elias followed the woman, his boots striking the floor harder than he wanted, his heart still racing from the fight inside the bar. The air smelled of burning metal, the kind that always came before chaos. She moved quickly, yet with calm precision, as if every step was already known to her. Elias had been a soldier for years, but even he felt like a recruit, trying to keep up. Behind them, heavy footsteps thundered. The mercenaries were not finished. Reinforcements poured in from both ends of the corridor, armored figures armed with rifles glowing blue. The station's crowd scattered, civilians rushing into side halls, alarms screaming louder as the danger grew. "Move!" she ordered, her voice sharp but never panicked. Elias obeyed, even though every part of him wanted to stop and fight. Blaster fire cut through the air, searing streaks of light smashing into walls. Sparks showered down, burning the floor. Elias spun, returning fire with his pistol. He dropped one enemy, but there were too many. "I keep running," she called, lifting her hand. The silver mark on her wrist flared, releasing a wave that bent the incoming shots, redirecting them into the walls. Elias could hardly believe his eyes. It was like she was bending the rules of physics. They sprinted through a market square, filled with glowing stalls. Merchants screamed and ducked as crates burst open, alien fruits and mechanical parts spilling everywhere. The mercenaries chased close behind, their boots pounding, their weapons flashing. Elias fired back, his training guiding his aim. But for everyone he slowed, two more appeared. "This way!" she shouted. Cutting through a narrow passage, Elias followed, his shoulder scraping the wall as they twisted through the maze-like station. They reached an open dock, massive windows revealing the stars beyond. Ships of all shapes were docked, but guards blocked the exits. The mercenaries had already sent word ahead. Dozens of them waited, weapons raised. Elias froze, his breath heavy. They were surrounded. The woman stepped forward, her eyes flashing. "Stay behind me," she said, before Elias could argue. The nearest guard fired. She raised her hand, and the silver mark burned brighter. The blast curved, spinning in the air before striking another soldier. The dock exploded into chaos. She moved like lightning, weaving between the fire, disarming enemies with impossible speed. Elias backed her up, shooting down two who tried to flank her. Together, they carved a path through the ambush. But the station shook as more troops closed in. "They won't stop," Elias growled, firing until his pistol overheated. She glanced back, her face calm but urgent. "They won't," she agreed, "unless we reach my ship." "And where is that?" he demanded. Her lips curved into that strange, almost smile. "Not far," she said. "If you trust me, trust," Elias thought bitterly. He didn't even know her name, yet every instinct told him that without her, he'd already be dead, so he pushed forward, covering her as they sprinted across the dock, blaster fire chasing them every step. The sound of engines roared from deeper inside the bay. Elias turned and saw it. Her ship. It was unlike any craft he had ever seen, sleek but scarred. Black metal, traced with silver veins that pulsed, faintly like a living thing. Its cockpit glowed with soft blue light, its wings folded tight like a predator ready to strike. "That's yours," Elias muttered, half in awe. She didn't answer. She only sprinted faster. The mercenaries formed a last blockade in front of the ship. A full squad, weapons raised, armor gleaming red. Elias's chest tightened. There were too many. He aimed his pistol, knowing it wasn't enough. But before he could fire, she stepped forward, lifting both hands. The silver mark blazed so bright it hurt to look at. A shockwave tore through the dock, knocking the mercenaries back like leaves in a storm, their weapons flying from their hands. The ground trembled. Lights shattered. Alarms screamed louder. Elias staggered, but managed to stay on his feet. Staring in disbelief, she turned her head slightly, her eyes glowing faintly in the smoke. "Now you see," she said. Elias swallowed hard, his mind racing. What was she, and why was he part of this? They rushed up the ramp of the ship, the door sealing shut behind them, just as more mercenaries poured into the dock. The ship's engines roared, vibrating through the metal floor. Elias fell into the nearest seat, breathless, sweat on his face. She slid into the pilot's chair, her hands moving across the controls with fluid precision. The ship lifted, the stars growing larger on the screen ahead. Behind them, the dock filled with fire and soldiers, but the ship broke free, bursting into the black sea of space. Elias pressed his back against the seat, his chest heaving. He had escaped death tonight, but only by following her. And as the ship streaked into the stars, one thought burned inside him. He was no longer running from the enemy. He was running towards something much bigger, something that had been waiting for him all along. Secrets revealed. The ship broke free of the station and slid into the dark sea of stars. Engines hummed low, steady, like the heartbeat of a living creature. Inside, silence filled the cabin, broken only by Elias's heavy breathing. He sat back in the chair, eyes locked on the woman at the controls. Every movement she made was smooth, confident, as if the ship itself trusted her. Finally, Elias spoke, his voice raw. "You're going to tell me what this is?" The woman did not look at him right away. She adjusted the course, tapped a series of glowing runes on the console, then let the ship settle into a quiet drift. Only then did she turn her head, her eyes sharp as before. "You want answers," she said. "Then listen." Elias clenched his fists. "I don't even know your name," he said. She studied him for a long moment before answering. "My name is Cirrus," she said, the word carrying weight as if it belonged to history itself. "And you, Captain Elias, are not who you think you are." Elias laughed bitterly, though there was no humor in it. "I'm just a soldier," he said. "Born on Titan, trained, fought, survived. Nothing more." Cirrus shook her head slowly. You survived because you were meant to survive, she replied. Your blood carries something older than this war. Older than this galaxy's memory. Her words pressed against his chest, like a weight he could not see. What are you talking about? He asked, frustration burning in his voice. Cirrus leaned closer, her eyes glowing faintly under the dim lights. There is a code inside you, she whispered. Written into your DNA long before you were born, long before humanity even reached the stars. Elias froze. He wanted to reject it, to call it madness. But the memory of the aliens, whispering his name, the mercenaries hunting him, the fear in the crowd, it all matched her words. What kind of code? He asked, his voice low. Cirrus sat back, her gaze distant now. A weapon code, she said. The last key to a machine that could change everything. A weapon the ancient builders left behind when they vanished. The words sank into him like ice. He thought of the war, the endless fights humans had barely survived. And now she was telling him that his blood carried something that could end it, or make it worse. I don't believe you, Elias said, though even he heard the weakness in his voice. Cirrus tilted her head. You will, she said, because soon they will show you what they already know. Them, Elias asked. The ones who came after you, Cirrus answered. They knew the code was hidden in human blood, but they never knew where, so they searched, generation after generation, until finally they found you. Her eyes hardened. You are not hunted because of who you are now, Elias. You are hunted because of what you were born carrying. Elias rubbed his face, his hands trembling. He wanted this to be a lie, a trick, some con to drag him into another war, but her calm certainty, her power, the silver mark that bent energy itself, none of it felt like lies. He looked at her, trying to find cracks in her story. Why me? He asked quietly. There are billions of humans. Why me? Cirrus leaned forward, her gaze never leaving his. Because you are the first one whose blood awakened, she said. The code inside you is no longer sleeping. It has already begun to move. That is why they fear you. That is why they hunt you. That is why I came for you. Elias felt the cabin close in around him. He wanted to stand, to pace, to escape her words. But the truth clung to him like chains. If she was right, then his life had never been his own. Every battle, every survival, every scar, it was all leading here. Cirrus softened her tone, just slightly. I did not come to harm you, she said. I came because you must choose Elias. You can keep running, and they will tear apart every station, every world until they catch you, or you can face what you are, and decide how it will be used. Her words lingered. Choice. The one thing he thought he still had. But if what she said was true, even choice was an illusion. He stared at the stars outside the viewport, endless and cold, and for the first time, the stars frightened him, because now he knew they were watching back. Finally, Elias whispered, almost to himself, if this is true, then I am already a dead man. Sarah shook her head, her eyes narrowing. No, Elias, she said. You are not dead. You are the beginning, and in that moment, he realized the galaxy was much larger than he had ever imagined, and somehow, his blood carried the key to it all. The enemy's hand. The ship drifted through deep space, silent except for the low hum of the engines. Elias stared at the stars, his mind heavy with Cyrus's words. A code in his blood, a weapon hidden inside him. It was impossible, yet everything around him screamed that it was true. Cyrus sat at the controls, her eyes watching the scanner. Her calm face never broke, but Elias noticed the tension in her hands. They will not wait long, she said, her voice even. They know you escaped the station. They know you are with me now. Elias leaned forward, his soldier instincts sparking. You mean the mercenaries? He asked. Cyrus shook her head. No, she whispered. They were only shadows. The real hunters are already coming. as if her words summoned them. The scanner pulsed red. Dozens of signals appeared, closing fast from the dark edge of space. Elias felt his stomach twist. Ships. Too many ships. Who are they? He demanded. Cirrus's eyes narrowed. The hand of the overlords, she said. They're hunters. They're assassins. The ones who erase worlds. Before Elias could reply, the ship shuddered as distant fire lit up the void. Streams of blue plasma streaked across the stars. The hunters had found them. Cirrus pushed the controls, the ship spinning hard, the stars twisting into streaks of light. Elias grabbed the seat to steady himself, his heart slamming in his chest. The enemy ships were faster, smaller, built like blades of metal cutting through space. Their formation moved like one mind, surrounding Cirrus's ship from all sides, weapons locked, lights flashing like cold eyes in the dark. They want me alive, Elias realized. That's why they're not firing to kill. Cirrus gave a short nod. Yes, she said, but they will destroy anyone who tries to protect you. The first hunter ship dove close, energy beams slicing across their wing. The hull screamed as alarms flared. Elias grabbed the spare cannon controls, targeting the ship as it passed. He fired, the blast catching its engines. The hunter spun out, burning as it vanished into the void. But 3 more ships closed in instantly. Elias cursed under his breath. There's no end to them. Cirrus kept the ship weaving through the storm, her face calm but focused. This ship was made for more than speed, she said. The silver veins on the hull pulsed brighter, glowing with strange light. With a sudden surge, the ship released a pulse that rippled through the void. 2 hunters were thrown off course, their systems sparking as they drifted away. Elias stared in shock. It's alive, he muttered. Cirrus did not deny it. Some weapons breathe, she said. Just like you. More hunters closed in, forcing them toward an asteroid field. Cirrus spun the ship, diving between massive rocks. The hunters followed, their fire blasting craters into the stone. The ship twisted left and right, scraping past the edges, sparks flying across the cabin. Elias fired the cannons again, blowing apart one hunter that came too close. But another clipped their wing, sending the ship spinning. Elias slammed against the seat, the world tilting, alarms screaming. Cirrus gritted her teeth, forcing the ship upright. They are not trying to kill you, she shouted. They are trying to break you. Elias's vision blurred, but he held tight. They won't stop, will they? He said. Cirrus's voice was grim. No, not until they drag you before the overlords. Not until they cut the code out of you. The words hit Elias like ice. Cut it out of him. He thought of the bar, the whispers, the fear in the crowd. He thought of the mercenaries, and now these hunters, all for something inside his blood. His hand shook, not from fear of death, but from something heavier. The knowledge that his life was no longer his own. The ship burst out of the asteroid field. Spinning into open space again, the hunters regrouped, their ships glowing as they prepared for one final strike. Cirrus glanced at Elias, her expression unreadable. It is waking inside you, she said quietly. Elias blinked, sweat dripping down his face. What do you mean? He demanded. But before she could answer, the ship's lights flared bright, the veins glowing like fire across the walls. The scanners pulsed, not from the enemy, but from Elias himself. His heartbeat echoed through the ship's systems, syncing with the rhythm of the hull. Cirrus looked at him with sharp eyes. You feel it, don't you? She said. Elias's chest pounded, a strange heat burning in his veins. The hunters closed in, their weapons charging. Elias grabbed the cannon controls again, but the ship fired before he could. Beams of light burst from its wings, guided not by Cirrus, but by him. 3 hunters exploded in an instant, torn apart by power that answered his pulse. Elias froze, staring at his hands on the controls. He hadn't fired, but the ship had moved with him, as if it was alive, as if it was connected to his blood. Cirrus leaned closer, her voice calm but certain. "Now you begin to understand," she whispered. "The code is not just inside you, Elias. It is waking, and it is already choosing you." The hunters regrouped, circling again. But this time Elias felt something shift inside him. The fear was still there, but something deeper stirred beneath it. Something older, stronger, waiting to be unleashed. And the galaxy was about to find out what it meant. The awakening. The hunters closed in again, their ships forming a tight circle around Cirrus's vessel. Blue fire lit the void, streams of plasma streaking toward them. Cirrus pulled the controls, twisting through the storm. But Elias felt the pressure building. It was not only outside the ship, it was inside him too. A strange heat in his chest, a rhythm that matched the hum of the engines. "Elias!" Cirrus shouted over the alarms. "Do not fight it. Feel it." He gritted his teeth, gripping the seat. "What are you talking about?" he growled. "The code," she answered, her eyes glowing in the reflection of the console. "It has already awakened. You must let it rise." A blast rocked the ship, sparks flying across the cabin. Elias staggered to the weapon station, firing at the hunters, but his hands shook, and the cannon shots missed their mark. Frustration burned inside him. He was a soldier, he had trained for years, yet now he felt powerless. Another strike hit the hull. Alarms screamed, and Elias slammed his fists on the console. "Enough!" he shouted, his voice breaking. And then it happened. The silver veins along the ship flared. Glowing brighter than ever before, Elias gasped, his vision blurring. For a moment he wasn't inside the cabin. He was somewhere else, standing in a vast chamber of light. Symbols spun around him, floating in the air, twisting and shifting like living fire. He could hear a heartbeat, slow and powerful, and realized it was his own. Cirrus's voice echoed faintly, as if carried from far away. "Do you see it?" she whispered. Elias reached out, his hand brushing one of the glowing symbols. The moment he touched it, the symbol sank into his skin, burning into his blood. Pain shot through him, sharp and endless. But under the pain was power, a surge that filled his veins, stronger than anything he had ever felt. Back in the cabin, Cirrus watched as Elias's eyes flared with light. The ship responded instantly, its systems syncing with him. Weapons powered on, brighter than before. Engines roared like thunder. The hunters fired, but their blasts bent away. Curving into empty space, Elias raised his hand instinctively, and the cannons answered. Beams of energy burst from the wings, striking 3 hunters at once, tearing them apart in silence. Elias staggered back, gasping. "I didn't touch the controls," he whispered. Cirrus's lips curved in the smallest smile. "You don't need to," she said. "The ship knows you. It listens to you, because the code inside you has woken." The remaining hunters regrouped. Circling tighter, they fired in unison. Dozens of blasts aimed straight at Cirrus's ship. But Elias no longer felt fear. His chest pulsed with light, his heartbeat steady and strong. The symbols from the vision spun in his mind, guiding him. He lifted both hands as if pulling invisible strings. The ship answered with a storm. Bolts of energy erupted, moving like arrows of lightning. They struck the hunters faster than eyes could follow. One by one, the enemy ships exploded, fire blooming in the black void. Elias felt the power rush through him. Endless, wild, alive. He could sense their movements before they made them. He could bend their fire before it reached him. He was no longer only a soldier. He was something more. But with the power came whispers. Voices in the back of his mind. Not Cirrus. Not the hunters. Something older. Something buried in the code. They called to him, promising victory, promising control. He clenched his jaw, forcing them away. He would not lose himself. Not now. He was still Elias. he told himself, still human. The last hunter ship tried to flee, its engines flaring bright. Elias reached out with a single thought. The ship froze in space, as if gripped by an invisible hand. He clenched his fist, and the hunter shattered into a cloud of burning metal. Silence filled the cabin again. Only the hum of the engines remained. Elias slumped against the console, his breath heavy, sweat on his face. Cirrus stepped closer, watching him carefully. "You felt it," she said softly. Elias nodded, though his eyes were wide with shock. "I don't understand it," he whispered, "but it's inside me. I can't deny it anymore." Cirrus placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch steady. "You are awake now," she said. "But this is only the first step. The overlords will come for you themselves, and when they do, you must choose how far you are willing to go." Elias looked out at the stars, the battlefield still glowing with the wreckage of hunters. His body trembled with both exhaustion and power. For the first time, he understood why everyone feared him, and for the first time, he feared himself. The final choice, the wreckage of the hunters drifted behind them, glowing fragments scattered across the black sea of space. Inside the cabin, silence pressed heavy, broken only by Elias's slow breathing. His hands still trembled, his body heavy with exhaustion, yet inside him, the power burned steady, like a fire that would never die. Cirrus watched him from the pilot's chair, her face unreadable. "You felt it," she said quietly. Elias nodded, his eyes fixed on the stars. "I didn't just feel it," he whispered. "I became it." He remembered the vision, the symbols, the voices whispering in the dark corners of his mind. Power that bent space, power that destroyed ships with a thought. It was his now, whether he wanted it or not. Cirrus leaned forward, her voice low and sharp. "The overlords know you are awake," she said. "They will come, not hunters this time, not mercenaries. They will come themselves." Elias's chest tightened. He thought of Earth, of Titan where he was born, of the colonies scattered across fragile outposts. Humanity had fought for survival, always the weaker species, always looking over their shoulder. Now he carried something that could change all of it. But the whispers in his mind returned, soft but dangerous. "Take control," they said. "Rule, command. Bend them all to your will." He clenched his fists, shutting his eyes. He was afraid, not of death, but of himself. Sarah stepped closer, her hand resting lightly on his arm. "You must choose, Elias," she said. "This power will not stay silent. It will grow, and when the overlords arrive, you will either use it or they will take it from you." Her words hung in the cabin like thunder. Choice. The one thing Elias thought he had lost. Now it was here again, but sharper, heavier, a choice that could shape the future of every human alive. Elias stood slowly, his legs unsteady. He walked to the viewport, the stars stretching endless before him. His reflection stared back, his eyes faintly glowing now, proof that he was no longer only human. Behind that reflection, he saw the wreckage of hunters, drifting like ghosts. He whispered to himself, "I never asked for this." Ceres's voice followed, came but unyielding. "No one asked to be chosen," she said. "But the galaxy does not care what you want. It only cares what you will do." Elias turned, his gaze sharp. "And what if I refuse?" he asked. Cirrus did not flinch. "Then they will cut the code from your body, piece by piece, and humanity will fall," she said. "Your blood is not just yours anymore, Elias. It belongs to all of them." The words struck him harder than any battle wound. He had fought for comrades, for duty, for survival, but now, strangers across distant stars carried their hopes in his veins. He hated it, yet he could not escape it. The whispers rose again, louder now. "You can be more than a soldier," they hissed. "You can be a king." Elias closed his eyes, breathing hard. He forced the voices down, his jaw clenched. "I am not your weapon," he muttered. I am not your slave. Cirrus watched, silent, waiting. At last Elias opened his eyes, fire burning inside them. I will fight, he said, his voice steady, but not to rule, not to burn the galaxy. I will fight to protect humanity. And if this code wants more, it will have to break me first. For the first time, Cirrus's expression softened, almost a smile. Then you have chosen, she said. The overlords will not forgive this. They will come with their armies, with their fleets. But you will not face them alone. Elias nodded slowly, his chest still heavy. I don't know what I am becoming, he admitted. But if they want me, they will have to come and take me. The ship's engines flared, pushing them deeper into the stars. Elias stood tall, the weight of destiny heavy on his shoulders. He was no longer just a soldier, no longer just a man. He was the lock that carried the key, the code that had awakened, and for the first time, humanity was not running from the galaxy. It was standing, ready to fight back. The stars stretched endless before them, silent and waiting. Elias clenched his fists, his voice low but fierce. Let them come, he said. I am ready.